People think consistency is all about pushing harder continually, just constantly, you know, going outside of your comfort zone, but that's not what it is. See, the first step before you can be consistent with anything is you have to be very clear and honest with yourself as far as where you are with things currently, not where you'd like to be, not where eventually you'll, end up or hope to be, but where you actually are. And there is no mantra, there is no system, there is no list of tips. You have a goal that you want. You have some idea on how you think you may be getting there, but that's probably not going to look the same way as you think it does. Um, but before you can really worry about where you're going, you got to be clear on where you are. And once you're clear on where you are, you then can take the first step, and then the next step, and the next step. And there's going to be sometimes you'll take steps and you'll pause. Sometimes you'll take steps and you'll fall backwards. Sometimes you'll do things to the best of your ability and it's still not going to go the way that you want it to be. And how you handle obstacles, not even so much navigating the obstacles, because you do navigate obstacles. You always have. You're still here, right? Think of all the obstacles that you navigated. But how you talk to yourself while you're navigating these obstacles, how you treat yourself, how you view yourself, that's a huge part. So you got to look at where you are. You got to be honest about that. And you got to go step by step. And when you start to do this, you then start to run your race, figuratively or maybe even literally. And I really, what I hope for you, because this is what has worked for me, and I think this is the best approach, is you get to a point where you make a mistake, something happens, or something frustrates you, something doesn't go the way that you want it to, and you're able to pull yourself out of it and assess and make the adjustment and keep moving forward without really judging yourself. Now, I'll be honest, you're not going to do this 100% of the time, especially if you have had some perfectionist tendencies throughout your life or old thought patterns that haven't been really helpful for you when it comes to following through on things. And I think with a lot of our goals, we don't need more information. We live in a time where there's so much information thrown at us, and it's not about somebody just telling us exactly step by step what it's going to look like. It's about trusting ourselves that we're going to actually be able to navigate this the way that we've always navigated stuff. And again, you get to that point in your head where you trust that you're going to be able to figure it out, but you can step back and assess. And this is what really sets people apart when we're talking about success, whatever your goal is. Because if you've spent any time in the personal development space, I don't know what your social media feeds look like, but if you got a bunch of quotes, you got a bunch of recommended podcasts to listen to, maybe this one, you got a bunch of recommended books to read. The thing is, if everybody is looking for a list of like, tell me exactly what to do and I'll do it, you're not getting anywhere. You're just checking the box. Yeah, you're taking action, I guess, to a point. But how much is that action really exactly what you need in this moment? Now, I'm not saying that all that content and all that information is bad. I'm just saying the real solution is inside you. Always has been. And you got to get clear on where you are. Otherwise, at best, you're chasing what somebody's definition or version of consistency is. And I'm going to tell you, most of what people think consistency looks like is way, way too rigid and way too involved. And it's way too, it's a lot of sizzle without a lot of substance. What's the point of doing something each and every day if all you're doing is checking out and putting your head down and pushing forward? You don't actually know if this process that you're following, because it's not yours, is actually getting you anywhere. But maybe you just tell yourself all the time, I'm just trusting the process, trusting the process. You do have to trust the process, but the process has to be yours. And that starts with knowing exactly where you are right now. Yes, knowing where you want to go. And then not only taking the steps from where you are to getting to where you want to go, but assessing progress and assessing the direction. Because see, here's the thing. You might have a path that you're working on, and you then look at it at one point, and you're like, yeah, you know what? This isn't it for me. And you change direction. Now, can there be an instance where you're just not really sticking to anything and you're just constantly jumping from goal to goal? Yeah, sure. But also, there could be a situation where you're doing something that really isn't lined up with where you want to go and who you want to be. And the only person that knows that answer is going to be you. So there's a whole assessment and critical thinking piece of this. Assessing where you are and then looking at all this information and deciding what's going to be the direction that you want to move in. And it may be the right direction, or you might take a couple steps down that path and say, yeah, you know what, this isn't it either. And maybe you go on something completely different, or you go back to the original path. You know, a lot of what I talk about is really just trusting yourself. Coming up with what certain things look like for you. What does consistency look like for you? And it's not going to be a blanket definition for everything in your life, because there will be things that you do every day. There's also going to be things that you do once or twice a year and a bunch of stuff in between. And maybe there's stuff that you do every 5 years. I don't know. Right? But you consistently stick to the schedule that works best for you. So that's what I have for you. So if you're listening on the podcast and you're still here, thank you. If you like what you're hearing and you're not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. Then once you are subscribed, please rate and review wherever it is that you're listening. From there, go ahead and share this episode with anybody you think that might benefit from listening to it. And then, and if you're watching on YouTube, thank you. If you like what you're watching, please go ahead and subscribe, and then YouTube and share the video. And then YouTube is telling you right now a video that they think that you would like to watch. Check that out, but don't go too far down the rabbit hole, because I want you connected with yourself and living your life. So that's what I have for you. So thank you as always for listening and watching, and I'll talk to you again real soon.